In this tutorial in Microsoft Word, we're going to show you how to insert a simple table into your document. In order to do that, I simply click anywhere in a blank paragraph. One thing you have to remember is that the initial look and feel of your table will be impacted by the style that controls the paragraph. And if I look at this paragraph, it's controlled by the normal style. We can change all that and override it later. The other thing to notice is that the initial width of the cells in the table will be controlled by the margin of your paragraph. I'm going to move this in 1/2 inch just to illustrate that. Now we're going to insert a simple table. I'll click on the Insert tab at the top and then click on Table. Now if I move my mouse down here, it will give me a visual representation of the number of cells I want across and down. Now don't worry about having too few because you can add them later. So I'm going to click down here and it'll make it a 5x4 and just click again and it inserted my table. A couple of things to notice. First of all, it obeyed the paragraph width, so the table starts over here. And also we found that it gave it a default style, which is simply a dark box around every single cell. Now I can change that if I want simply by clicking on these style buttons. I'll click on this one and now you notice what it did. It made it to the maximum width of the document when I click that one on, and now if I click back here, it's a wider table. So you can control this any way you want. We can actually change other features. I can click on the down arrow and add a little splash of color here on my tables. And let's pick this one here. So this is what I have for the look and feel of my initial table. I can choose a black and white or any kind of color I choose. And then we can type stuff in. I can type in like name, and then spring, summer, fall, and winter. I press a tab key and it'll drop down to the first column in the table. And I will go ahead and type in some information here and get back to you in a moment. Now I've entered some information in the table. It isn't very descriptive, but it's just illustrative. So what I'd like to do is perhaps I decide I want to add a row in the table. How do I do that? Well, I can click on the bottom row here, and then I'll move to the Layout tab in my Table Tools above the ribbon. And then I can click Insert Above or Insert Below. I'll simply do an Insert Below, and now I have a new row that I can use in my table. And I can enter in anything I want to in terms of numbers and continue that way. There is an option here where you can use the mouse to add a row. I simply find the ribbon to be a lot easier. So let's go ahead and add one more row here in my table. I'll do Insert Below. And let's call this one Totals. Now we can actually do a little bit of Excel-like math in our table. Let me show you how to do that. Again, with the Tables tool selected, we're going to click on the Layout tab, and I'm going to click on this Formula item. Now the default formula it uses is sum. And if you know a little bit about your Excel formulas, you can do that. So I'm going to click on that and just click on OK, and you notice it gave me a summation. I cannot do multiple rows at once. It's a kind of a stripped down version, but I'll do that one here, and I can replicate that on every other cell. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, I want a different formula under winter. So I'm going to click on the formula bar again here. I'm going to change the sum to average. And I can actually change the number format here. Let's say I want to use dollar signs. And so that is the average of what I have here. So there's a little bit of nice things you can do. It's not as good as inserting an Excel spreadsheet. and we'll show you how to do that later. But this gives you one way in which you can begin to make simple changes in your document. You can also move the mouse between the column widths and change them any way you want so they're not all identical. Let me show you another way to use a table. Sometimes, instead of inserting columns in your document and starting another section, you can simply insert a table. This is really helpful. I'm going to do insert here, and I'm going to go table, and I just want maybe it to be 2 cells wide. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the look and feel of my table. I'm going to click on the borders thing and do no border. Oops, I need to click on the entire table by clicking on this little icon on the top here. I'm going to click on borders again and do no border. Now my table has no border. These dotted lines will not print. Let's assume that I want to simply take this table and use it like a column. I can put January meals, February meals, okay, bacon and cheese. Okay, so I have something that looks like a column, but it isn't a column. I can actually go ahead too and highlight all this. Well, let me just highlight part of it, the last two. And I can go up here on my Home tab, and I can insert a bullet. And so now I have bullets inserted here in my table. If I don't want to see the dotted lines that don't print, I click on my table. I go to my table tools. I go on the borders, and I turn off the view grid lines. And so this is what it will look like. So it's a different way. I could insert 2 columns in here, or I could just insert a simple table. And if I turn off or on the grid lines, I'll click borders again and turn the view grid lines back on. And now I can see them. Once again, like any other table, I can click here and I can go back to my table tools, and I can choose my layout, and I can insert another row below. Again, it picks up the style that I've chosen. Maybe I want to decide to make these equal to. I go back to my Home tab, and I'm going to bullet these as well. And now it looks a little bit better. But it gives me an option of making it look like I did columns when actually all I'm doing is using tables. So the tables have more than a mathematical element to them. They can actually be used to change the look and feel, the design of your document. I'm Jim from the Sharper Turtle. We hope you found this lesson in inserting a simple table into Microsoft Word to be useful to you. In the subsequent lesson, we'll show you the power of actually inserting and editing Excel documents inside of Word. The integration is amazing. If you found this lesson useful, we'd like to ask you to like us, if you would, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This will give you access to lessons as they're developed and released. Thank you so much.